Hi guys, my name is Brandon Webb and I'm going to be doing a sharing video today for CIT261 going over the DOM. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And here you'll see, after we get out of this mode, this is our BYU Idaho's, our kind of team spot. One of our team members, Christopher Kears, created this for us so that it was one place where we could go to view others' codes in our group. So today we're going to be looking inside of my sandbox. And I have this personal section I've been working on, and these are basically some JavaScript objects where I'm working with the DOM. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I've created this simple DOM that I am working on, and it just basically does simple things. For example, are you Utes or a BYU fan? If you're a Utes fan, click red. Go Utes. And if you're blue, go Cougars. This is one of the great things that you can do with the DOM to actually change this HTML. It can change many other things besides HTML, but that's just one of the simple examples. Now we have another one. This one says, do you follow the instructions? Don't hover over me. Whoops, I hovered over it. If I got this message, it's because I didn't listen to the instructions. Next time I should make sure I'm careful. Within the DOM, we can also create pop-up and alerts that will help us to troubleshoot people's sites or make cool little gadgets that we want people to understand about our site. So as you can see though, this one's interesting because if I hover over it, it doesn't do anything. But what actually happens behind the scenes, which we'll show you in just a bit, is once I pull off of that, it then brings up the error message. And what do you think? What do you think this button does? Well, let's see. Hi. Hi. Hi again. This button basically goes through and continues to create more HTML that is outputted to the page. So I'm going to kind of show you the back end of this today. I've been editing today in Text Wrangler. I'm going to open this index page that has all of my DOM information on it. As you can see here, I'll go over first starting and talking about this button. What team are you on? In here, you can see I have a head and everything that's set up for HTML. I have a body with some headers, so H1. And then I have this, are you a Utes or BYU fan, in a span tag. And then I have two buttons. Now, here I've done some internal scripting with JavaScript. So what happens here is you have, as you see, some variables I set up, and I use this document.getElementById to get this team ID span tag. And I put that inside of these variables. Now, I've also put these buttons inside of variables. So now that everything's in my variables, I can do something with it. So the following code here, like it says, lets us listen to the button and adds a listener. So I do this document.getElementById, add event listener. So whenever there's a click, run this function. And so here's what we do. The F1 function is right here. So this does right here, document.getElementById team.innerHTML equals to go Cougars. So once I click or have the user click, it will then run over to this function and it will set the inner HTML equal to go Cougars. Then from there, you can also do this hard-coded. As you can see right here, this is where these variables would come into use. Button1 dot add event listener, kind of the same concept here, click, and then we could just have a function defined inside of this, and then we could actually pull that variable. This one actually changes the color and it styles it. So XX, which is that variable, team, which is right here, it styles it to red. As well, if we click on the button 2, it styles it to blue. So that's one of the really neat things that you can use to figure out what you want to do with your site. And down here, we follow the instructions. Basically, you just have this line of code that asks you if there's on a mouse hover or an on a mouse out. It does this function, pop up. It's listening for this. So what we have here is we have ID equals team, be careful, script type equals text JavaScript. This is good practice to have. In the newer version, as you can see up here, I just put script, but it's really good practice to make sure that you put the type of script that you're going to be using. That function that we defined up here, that's listening, was a function that does a pop-up. It basically errors out this message. That's kind of what we got when we did this one right here. So, as you can see, we also have this one down here. This one's a little bit more complicated, but basically we have this ID war, which I want to create a kind of point system that we'll learn about this one in just a second. So you'll come through, and what you will do is you just create new nodes. So you create an element P, and then you append it to wherever you have that node, and you call it high. So if we're looking at this ID war, and it does a button here, basically what we're doing is we're just going to add new nodes onto each time we press this within the DOM. This is how we can structure the DOM. The DOM is basically being able to create elements. If I reload this page really quick, and I bring up some developer tools at the bottom of my page, you'll notice down here that when I click on this button, a piece of the DOM down here is actually going to change. Let's take a look at that. You see here I have high. Let's click on the button and watch very closely. There's a new high down here. Manipulating the DOM is super helpful if you want to load things on the page while users are clicking it, just to give them confirmation or to make sure that things are working smoothly. This is how you use the DOM. I'm glad that I've been able to share this with you today, and I hope that it's going to really help you out in your study as you continue to prepare and build your app not only with yourself, but as your team. Thank you.